Hi and welcome to this Blueberry Markets video update with me, John Kibler, Head Currency Analyst. In this video I'm going to take you through the week ahead analysis. I'm going to take you through the news for this week and some key charts to watch. So first of all, I'm going to start off with the Aussie rate statement. It looks like the RBA are going to be increasing their rates from 0.35% to 0.75%. This isn't a shock. We've seen lots of increases from central banks recently by at least 50 basis points recently, so a hike here isn't really that shocking for the RBA at the moment, and they're just bringing it back up to 0.75%. So what we're going to be looking for is the RBA rate statement. Are they going to remain hawkish in line with other central banks? Are we going to see them remain fairly positive? And if they are, then that could be fairly good for the Australian dollar going into the early stages of this week. We then have an ECB rate decision. So it looks like the ECB are going to hold the main refinancing rate at 0%. Again, it's going to be quite interesting, the ECB, because they have talked about hikes recently, and especially around sort of July. So obviously we're in June at the moment, so maybe it's not going to happen as soon or sooner rather than later. But if there is a shock here and we do see a rate hike, maybe even by 25 basis points, then that could be quite a significant thing to happen in the market, and we could see the euro strengthen even further from what it is already. Now, the other interesting data is going to be coming on Friday, which is this CPI data. Now, investors are really going to be keen to watch what happens here. Are we going to start to see inflation easing, or is it going to continue to rise? Now, forecasts are showing a bit of a mixed result. Seeing an increase to the CPI number. Core CPI number could be down, however, so there could be a bit of a mixed result here. However, if we were to see both increases, I think that could be pretty bad for the stock markets, and towards the end of the week we could see more of a flip in the risk sentiment in the market that we've got currently. Moving on to the strength meter then, what can we see? Well, there's been quite some dramatic turns in the market. We can see here that the Australian dollar was one of the weakest currencies. That has now jumped from this reversal zone and got stronger. So looking for that to potentially continue going into this week, dependent on the risk appetite in the market. The dollar continues to drop quite dramatically. However, the dollar is actually coming into a bit of support at the moment, so we could be seeing a little bit of a pullback to that recent downside that we've had. Euro is the strongest currency at the moment, but in that reversal spot. So again, the ECB is going to be quite detrimental to see what happens here for the euro. Does it continue to strengthen for the week, or does it start to reverse and move back to the downside? Key charts to watch, I think, for this week. One of those is going to be the Australian US dollar, obviously with the RBA rate statement coming up. But what we've seen quite recently is the price come into this area of resistance. I'd like to have seen it have come a little bit higher towards 0.73. But what you can see is what we've had from the market is quite dramatic impulsive phases. A little bit of a pullback there, a dramatic impulsive phase, and then we've had a really slow upward trend developing here at the moment. So I'm actually wondering how long this trend will last, whether we'll see a pushback to 0.73, or if price can break below last week's point of control at 0.718, do we actually trade back towards the 0.71 level where this untested point of control is? That's what I'm kind of looking at here at the moment. It's either going to see price, on the announcement, maybe jump into this 7185 level, rebound towards 0.73. We then have a pocket of volume through there that price could find some resistance at, which could then lead to either some downside or obviously a continuation break up to this untested point of control. But I think this point of control here is going to be the key for us. The current week's point of control at 7185. I think if price starts to trade below that and hold below it, what I mean by that is if price trades through that level and then starts to consolidate below that level, I think that we're actually going to see price move back a little bit lower. So I think this area here is going to be really important going into this week. Pound US dollar then, so we actually had quite a negative pound last week. We opened up here, closed down through here, so very negative pound. We've had some really aggressive selling off of the pound US dollar, mainly due to some US data which was fairly positive for the US, really pushing that pound price lower. But if we kind of look at the bigger picture here, we've come into this key resistance level. We've kind of got a head and shoulders pattern working there. So these lows here at 124.50 are going to be quite important to the pound. If price can break below this 50 level, I think that would lead to some further downside for the pound US dollar going into this week. Again, very much like Aussie, I think the key area is going to be this point of control. You can see the last 2 weeks it's pretty much traded within the same level. So I think if price can hold above it, that's going to be something different for us to watch and potentially some further upside. I think the stock markets are really going to be what is key for us going into this week to decide where the FX markets could head this week. But before we jump onto the stock market, we've got Aussie Yen one to watch. Now, Aussie Yen broke out of this key trend line through here, this key downward trend where, again, kind of had some aggressive selling and then shallow pullbacks, aggressive selling, shallow pullbacks. But this pullback here led to a breakout. It led to a high volume press through this sort of 91.50 area, and we saw price jump about 300 pips last week, which was it's not unusual for Aussie Yen, but compared to the past 2 weeks that we had, was quite a strong move. So looking to see if this will actually continue going into this week. Again, like I said, it's going to depend on the RBA statement, but the key level to watch, 95.39, is an untested point of control from this area through here, but also this high volume or value area high is another area I'm looking at, around about 93.39. If price can come into this level, maybe even the high volume level below, start to reject, we could see a push towards that 95.40. Again, I think if price trades below this high value area and holds below it, I think, again, you're going to probably be looking at something a little bit different, with price potentially coming to test this sort of 92 area. Now, I think this is all going to depend on how the stock market performs this week. We did actually see a slight bounce from these key lows that we discussed, and we discussed the price breaking above this 4,000 area in previous videos, and if price could hold above it, we could see some upside for the stock markets. However, last week was fairly flat, and we had I know we had multiple sort of bank holidays last week. However, we've remained fairly balanced for the week. Now, balanced days on the volume profile usually lead to very good breakouts occurring. So this balanced day here, I'm expecting some kind of volatility to come into this week. And I think if the data towards the end of the week is hinting more towards an easing of inflation, I think price is going to break this value area high at 4,200, and we're probably going to head towards the 4,400 area. If, however, inflation is considered to continue to rise, that could have a negative effect on the stock markets, like we've seen recently, and price breaking below the balanced week low 4074 could lead to some further downside, even back towards the main swing lows where we saw price climb from recently. So lots to watch going into this week. I hope you enjoyed this video update. If you did, leave this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the YouTube channel to see some more Forex trading content, and I'll speak to you in the next video.